If you're a product leader applying for jobs online in 2026, you're already losing. Not because you're unqualified, not because there are no good roles out there, but because your strategy is stuck in 2016. And the game has completely changed. Most principal PMs, directors, VPs are invisible not because they lack the right experience, but because they've never learned how to position themselves as the obvious answer to a company's most pressing problem. I know because I've helped over 1,000 product leaders land roles at companies like Meta, Google, Amazon, Coinbase, and the startups everyone's watching, but no one's talking about yet. They didn't get lucky. They didn't know someone. They followed a strategy. One that turns your experience into leverage, your story into a category of one, and your job search into a career-defining moment. If I had to start all over again, this is exactly what I'd do. Now, this isn't recycle LinkedIn advice. This is the intentional job search playbook. It's fast, it's strategic, it works. Whether you're going for your first principal, director, VP, CPO role, you're one narrative away from being undeniable. So let's go. So let's start with what doesn't work right now. You know how it goes. Update your resume, scroll through job boards, start firing off applications like confetti at a wedding, and then wait, hoping that a recruiter gets back to you. Well, that's a default strategy. Does it work in 2026? No, it's the fastest way to burn out. Why? Because product management has become one of the most desirable roles in tech. You're competing with 500 to 1,000 people for every good opening, sometimes even more. And the best jobs, the ones where you'll grow fast, work with amazing teams, be well compensated, they don't go to the people who apply online. They go to the people who've already positioned themselves as obvious hires before they even got to an interview. Most product managers approach their career with way less thought than they apply it to their product. That's the core problem. They treat their resume like a product listing, not a story. They apply to roles based on what's available, not what's ideal. And they spend 90% of their time refreshing job boards instead of building networks and narratives that open real doors. If I had to summarize the biggest trap, it's this. They start with action instead of intention. They think, what can I get? Not what do I want? And how do I become undeniable for it? Intentional job search and this playbook flips that. It's product thinking applied to the most important product you'll ever manage, your career. So from here on, I want you to drop the resume tweaking, pause the LinkedIn scrolling, and let's design a search strategy that's strategic, measurable, and wildly more effective. Let's move to step one. Be crystal clear on what you want. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, yeah, I've heard that many times. I'm just going to ignore it. But here's the real start. You've got to define the job before you go out and find it. I want you to treat your career like a product. That means asking, who's the customer? Oh, you're the customer. What are your needs, desires, and pain points? This is conducting customer research on yourself. What does success look like 6 months from now, 2 years from now? Allow yourself to visualize it, to believe it without knowing the how. And instead of starting with what's out there, start by defining what type of company and environment do you thrive in? What problems do you want to be solving? What kinds of people do you want to work with? What are your areas of growth? Don't settle for slightly better than now. Go deeper. Instead of intentional job search program, we call this the ideal role blueprint. It's not just vision boards and vides. It's rigorous. We literally use frameworks pulled from product management to analyze your skills, values, zones of genius, compensation goals, and more. And if your job target is vague, your strategy will be scattered. But when you're clear, you reverse engineer everything else, your story, your positioning, your negotiation from that North Star role. Here's an example. A client came to me and said, hey, I want to work at a FANG company. Well, we broke that down. What kind of experiences had he had? What sort of teams would he enjoy it more? What stages of product would be good? What would be the exact level? What would be the kind of manager? What do you not want to repeat from past jobs? We got hyper specific. Now, in a few months, they did land 2 FANG roles and they managed to pick one, but it was only because they had clarity, which attracts opportunity. So your first step is to get ridiculously clear, specific, write it down, treat it as a product specification. Don't move forward without it. I know many of you want to ignore it, but you won't. Now, the next step might be something that you don't even think of. In fact, most people don't think of it. It's not about your resume. It's not about your story even. It's about you have to believe that you deserve that job before you ever interview for it. I'm not talking about fake confidence or standing in front of the mirror chanting affirmation. I mean deep internal conviction. Most people wait until they get the offer to believe that they're qualified. But the ones who win quickly, they believe first. And that belief shows up in how they speak, how much work they put in, how they answer questions, how they negotiate, how confident they are. And here's the shift I want you to make. Instead of asking, will someone give me the opportunity? Ask yourself, how can I show them I'm already this person who deserves that role? Now, inside my program, we work on this at a tactical level. We use exercises like visualization and radical acceptance to identify the moments in your career that prove that you're ready for the next level. And then we internalize it. We don't invent qualifications, we unearth them. When you know your value, you stop asking for permission. You start attracting roles that match your worth. Now, many people have the skill sets, many people have the experience, but they haven't internalized that belief. So we helped you rewrite beliefs, internalize beliefs that will help you get to the next role. Let me pause for a second and say this. If you're watching this and thinking, I don't just need advice, I need someone to help me map this out step by step, book a free strategy session with my team. We'll take 45 minutes to look at where you are, where you want to go, and what's standing in the way. Real strategy customized to your goals. The link is in the description. If you want to lead product in 2026 and beyond, you need to understand artificial intelligence or AI. Not because you're going to build models, because you will probably lead teams that do. You don't need to take a Python course or become a prompt engineer. You need to become AI fluent. Now, inside of intentional job search, we start with a real world problem you want to solve. We use various tools to help you build a proof of concept and take it to the next level. You document your thinking, trade-offs, and impact, and highlight that in your portfolio, resume, and interviews. Now, this doesn't need to be complex. You're not proving you can code. You're proving you can think, lead, and solve problems with AI as a lever. If you get stuck, this kind of fluency is what separates leaders from everyone else. The market is a market. You can't control it, but you can outposition everyone else in it, and you can build up the right skill sets to succeed here. And then you craft your strategic narrative. This is where everything changes. Most people try to prepare for interviews by memorizing answers to 50 questions. Wrong approach. Instead, build a strategic career narrative. Your career story designed around the role you want. Here's the structure. Think about it. In the past, what are the patterns and strengths in your stories? What are the unique problems that you solved that others found hard to solve? What is it that you did that was absolutely different? Where did your presence actually make a difference? And then think about the future. Why is this role the obvious next chapter that both helps you grow and build on your skill sets? We use something called the signature narrative framework, and it works like magic. It turns scattered accomplishments into a clear arc. You're not answering questions. You're telling a story that creates belief. This is a script for your entire job search. It informs your resume, your LinkedIn, your interviews, your negotiations. It makes you memorable, not just another resume in a pile. And once you have your strategic narrative, you're playing the game at a different level. Just as an example, Nora Hughes, who worked with us to land a staff PM role at Twilio after having been a senior PM, and land an AI role despite not having a lot of AI experience. It all happened because she mastered a clear signature narrative that consisted of 3 stories, and she learned how to answer any question adapting those stories. That's all she needed. She didn't need more. She just needed to master that to the next level. And that's why she achieved such amazing results, as have hundreds of other product managers. Now, once you do that, the time is for translation. To translate this into your marketing materials strategically. Now, and only now, should you update your resume or LinkedIn. Why? Because without a clear narrative, your resume is just a list of disjointed bullet points in jobs. With one, it's a story of compounding impact. You don't get what you're worth, you get what you position. Your resume shouldn't read like a job description. It should read like a business case for your next level of leadership. Now, when we work with clients, we teach them how to translate their signature narrative into an achievement and outcome-driven resume. How to quantify impact like a product leader, whether it's on revenue, adoption, retention, efficiency. Even if you work on platform product, you can do that. How to position every role as part of an intentional trajectory that you've thought through and not a wandering, winding path. How to tailor your materials to the level you're targeting. Because look, the answers that you give at an L5 level will not get you the job at an L7 level. Same goes for LinkedIn. You don't need to list every feature you ship. You need to show how your thinking evolved, what bets you took, how you shaped strategy. It's not about your responsibilities. It's about your results. Now, once you've done that, it's time to not apply, but to activate your network the right way. Because look, here's the truth. You can keep applying online and hope your resume makes it past the application tracking system or the ATS. Or you can build a network that sends your name straight to the hiring manager and completely bypasses the applicant tracking system. Which one sounds more like leadership? We see it all the time. People with amazing experience getting ghosted because they never activated their network. In fact, they were too embarrassed to access their network because they were worried that they would fail. They never learned how to convert relationships into referrals. When we work with clients, we give you outreach scripts, referral workflows, and even a daily networking cadence, because warm intros don't just help you get in. They change how you're perceived. You're no longer a stranger. You're pre-vetted, you're already trusted, and this is what creates momentum. You're not landing interviews because you're unqualified. You're not landing them because you're invisible. Let's change that. And now that we've changed that, we've got a new interview. You interview like a leader and not like just a candidate hoping to get a job. Most people treat interview questions like tests. They rehearse 50 questions, memorize frameworks, hope they don't get curveballs. But product leadership interviews aren't about answers. They're about perspective. They're about your way of thinking. Need to walk in as somebody who's already thinking at that level. That might mean articulating strategy and not just tactics. Even if you didn't define the strategy, understanding the strategy and being able to express it and communicate it. Navigating our ambiguity with confidence. If you're thrown a curveball, you are ready for it. You're ready to adapt. Telling stories that sell your thinking, not just your outcomes. And I think just as importantly, asking and wondering and thinking, why is the interviewer asking that question? Because sometimes you're asking a question a particular way and you might be better off solving that same need for that interviewer by answering a slightly different question. It works. Politicians do it all the time. Why can't you? This is why we train our clients to reach the level of unconscious competence. It's like jazz. The framework's there, but the performance should feel effortless. You're not answering questions, you're shaping belief. We use mock interviews, coaching, written drills, group feedback, all focused on one goal: to make your interview presence undeniable. If you can do that, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be the one that they remember, even if you screwed up a couple of answers. Now you succeed in interviews and it's time to negotiate like a leader, because the last 10% is everything. Let's be clear. Even the first interaction you have at the start of the negotiation. Most people make two fatal mistakes. They box themselves into a number range too early and they assume that the first offer is the final offer. Here's what we teach instead. Delay the number talk until you have leverage as much as possible. Understand the compensation bands for your level and domain. We'll help you with that. We have all this proprietary data. Anchor your words in the value you bring, not your past compensation. Use recruiter and hiring manager alignment to push for the maximum. And then you can have multiple offers or even a single offer. Even then, you play it strategically. Negotiation is where you reclaim the value that you created over the last 5 years. It's where you step into the identity of the leader that you've already become. You're not greedy. You're not being difficult. You're just stepping into your worth. Because you don't get what you're worth, you get what you position. Now look, your time is now. So here's a roadmap, start to finish. Define your ideal next role. Build the belief that you already deserve it. Craft a strategic narrative. Develop AI fluency as a product leader. Create marketing materials that sell. Activate your network. Interview like a leader. Negotiate without fear. And if you remember one thing from this video, you're one narrative away from being undeniable. Own it. Build it, practice it. Because the job you want isn't about proving yourself. It's about positioning yourself. You're the CEO of your career. Now act like it. Now look, if you watch this and you think, I'm serious about landing my next product leadership role, this is where it starts. You'll find the link in the description. Let's bring your roadmap together. Book a strategy session with us. And you probably want an example of how people did it. So watch this next video to understand how Shruti went from rejections to a director of product role at Salesforce using the same methodology.